Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at NECA's new Alpha Predator, which is one that has stirred up quite a fuss. Lots of jimmies have been rustled. People are excited about this. And I'm only a little bit confused by that because NECA releases awesome Predators like every other day. It's what they do. This figure is fantastic. I'm not trying to take anything away from it, only to say that all of their releases, sans maybe the ones from the movie which had the camo pants on, they're all incredible. This one might be a little bit better, sure, but they're all incredible. So I think it's odd that people are acting so surprised by this when almost all of their figures, of the Predator variety at least, are somewhere near this quality. I mean, let's look at this one right here. Yeah, this is one of the AVP ones, and we've seen a bunch real quick. Or we've seen a bunch of them, but real quick, let's just look at it. I mean, like, they're all incredible. I want to just make that clear. I don't know why everybody's acting so surprised by this one. It is maybe a little bit more unique, but it is still a NECA Predator, so if you like them, buy them. There's a ton of them out there, guys. This isn't new. I mean, this one's new, but they're all great. This one is particularly unique though, so maybe that's why people are psyched, and it is pretty awesome. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. Okay, this guy stands just about, let's say 23. It's probably just shy of 23 centimeters, which makes him pretty close to dang near 9 inches on the dot. And I want to point out, this guy's only 30 bucks. This right here is $30. Let me find an example here real quick. This here is $20 to $25. And like I said, this one is unique and nice and special, but NECA does this all the time. Sure, there may be a few issues here and there, we'll talk about them, but there's issues with everything. Does that look like it's only a few dollars more? I don't think so. I mean, it's not even close as far as I'm concerned. It's just mind-boggling to me. Mind-boggling. Anyway, this thing is incredible. It is very unique. I think it is entirely new parts. Maybe the hands are reused. Maybe. I think it's just the hands. If even the hands. It's a lot of, or maybe the elbows. You know, things like that are reused. But this guy is mostly a brand spanking new figure. And just look at it. Look at the sculpt and the detail. This is probably the best Predator they've ever released. I wasn't trying to slight this figure, only to say that this is what NECA does. This is their thing. This is their bread and butter. I think maybe this one just got some new people's attention maybe, and that's why it's been making such a big deal. I don't know, but this is what they do, and this is a perfect example. Look at all of that detail, all of that sculpt. Let's zoom in a little bit. Let's get closer. Look at it. It's just so... I know he's almost the same color as the background. I don't have another background. Here. There you go. I actually do, but it doesn't look good. So there it is. I mean, you can see it's just loaded with detail, sculpt and paint. Lots of paint. And this one's got a pearly, silvery finish to it, platinum-y almost. It's just so incredibly well detailed. And for 30 bucks, I can't get over that. 30 bucks. Okay, aesthetically speaking, there's nothing really else I can say. 10 out of 10. It's not to say it's absolutely perfect. It's still a mass-produced figure. One of my eyes isn't perfectly straight, but by and large, you don't get better than this. For the price point, this thing is a 10 out of 10 in the aesthetic. Holy crap, is it well detailed. Oh my goodness. I can't get... Like, every time you look at it, you notice something else. There's so many tiny details. And yeah, a lot of it's just dry brushing as far as the paint goes, but there's like 30 different colors on here. 30 different paint applications. Nuts. It's so good. Okay, 10 out of 10 for the aesthetic. As for the accessories, before we get into the actual accessories, I want to point out something. It comes with these 2 spikes in the package, and there are 2 places to peg them in back here, and you can do that. That's up to you. If you want to put them there, that's fine. However, if you take this guy off, this is just a floaty wrist piece like a watch. Take this guy off, flip him around, put him back on so the skull is up here. There's a peg hole right here so he gets a big blade. Here, I'll show you kind of what it looks like right now, but I'll do it in the photos later. So this will peg in right there, and he has a big blade hanging down like that, which is very traditional for Predators. So that's a cool touch. But wait, there's more. On this side, if you notice, there's also a peg hole right there. And this guy comes off and can peg in right there. So you get a blade on both sides. And if you really wanted to, this whole thing unpegs. I don't know that you would want to do that. I'm pretty sure that's just for the assembly process. But if you wanted to, you could take that off as well. So you have some variety there as far as those accessories go. But let's go ahead and talk about the other accessories that are true standalone accessories. We do have his face mask, which is very nicely detailed. It looks really good, but I think you'd be crazy to cover up that face. The Predator helmets are always awesome, but their faces are so much more awesome. So I never use the helmets, frankly. You guys can let me know. Do you helmet or do you not helmet your Predators? Or face mask, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so we have that. And then we have a bunch of hands. We have the 2 wide open hands, 2 gripping hands, and 2 fist hands. All the hands you would need really for a Predator, so that's pretty good. We do have his little sickle, which is pretty cool. That's nice. That can go on his little gun belt if you want to put that there. We have his starfish, which I guess is supposed to be like the throwing star made out of bone, but it looks to me like those creepy starfish that walk around on their leg things, and it grosses me out. And then lastly, we have his giant spear staff fork stabber thingy, which is just, again, really nicely detailed. We have some spinal column there, we have some jawbones, lots of detail, so much detail, and again, all for $30. Those accessories trump most other figures in terms of detail as a whole figure, and it's just the accessories. I'm close to saying 10 out of 10. The only thing that I would say would make this a 10 out of 10 maybe is if we had an alternate head with a yelling face. That would be freaking cool, but obviously that's too much to ask. So I can't really say that fairly, but because I want it, I'm going to say 9 out of 10. I want an alternate yelling head. That would be great. I love the yelling heads, but either way, I mean, obviously I'm just kind of being funny here, but 9 or 10 out of 10 for the accessories. That is something. I just can't get over the value for the price, guys. Compared to the other things we get from domestic companies, it makes them all look silly. Okay, on to the articulation. That's usually what NECA sacrifices for sculpt and paint. Because obviously you have a budget for everything you're making, and so you have to sacrifice somewhere. They usually go for the aesthetic over the articulation. This guy's articulation, in some ways though, better than your standard Predator. I'm assuming the head is a double. It might be a single peg, but either way, you can lean it side to side. Plenty. I mean, that's more than enough. Obviously, he has dreads that tuck in back here, so that's going to be limiting. They're not actually connected, but they're still plastic, so they're going to limit some. You do have your rotation. Again, the dreads are limiting. If you want to finagle it and play with it a little bit more, you can get more range out of it, pull the hair out a little bit. But you can get plenty of range there, and then as far as looking up, that's about as far as you're going to get looking up, and going down is fine. So it's basically your standard fare for a neck, and it's maybe somewhat more limited by these, but they are soft, so it shouldn't be too big of an issue. The shoulder pads here, they're very flexy, so you can still raise the arms up to almost horizontal. Not quite. Maybe if you force it, you could get a little bit more, but almost horizontal. You do have full rotation. Again, the flexy ones get in the way a little bit, but I don't think he's going to be in too many acrobatic poses. You should be okay with that. That should be all right. And the way they're sculpted, they don't really get distorted and weird looking when you raise the arm, so I like that a whole bunch. No bicep swivel there. We do get it down here, though, in the double jointed elbow. So let's go ahead and do the joint first. Well, that's one joint, 90 degrees. There's the other one. Basically another 90. So you get a full 180. It does give him kind of a long elbow. I get that that's not ideal looking, but you're probably not going to notice that in most cases. And also, you do get your bicep swivel at that elbow joint. So he's covered. He's got the range covered. So far, no problems. Wrists are just a standard single hinge. Let me pop this off and show you. So standard single hinge. I think we're going to focus up here any minute, and there you go. So standard single hinge with a peg, because they're interchangeable, of course. So that's pretty fine. Obviously, if you have stuff around the wrist, you're going to have a limited range, but if you take that off, you'll be fine. For the torso, it's either a single or a double. I can't get in there to look, but the diaphragm joint does work on this guy. He's got a lot of doodads hanging around this artificial rib cage or secondary rib cage of armor, but it does work. The diaphragm joint does rotate and lean around better than most Predators. That's good. We also have a ball peg down here, So you're going to be able to move this guy better than pretty much any Predator I've handled, and I've handled all of the articulated ones. The ones that have the modern, like basically from these guys forward, I have handled all of them. I've handled them a lot. And this guy seems to be the best as far as range goes, so that's pretty cool. That's nice. Lots of soft pieces down here, so let's see how the hips work. So this one, let's see how it works with this on the outside. Almost full on splits. Can we put it on the inside? Probably not. On this side it is on the inside, so let's see how that works. Yeah, not quite as far, but again, that's probably going to be enough. I don't know if he's going to need to do the splits as a Predator, but it's still pretty good range. You do get your thigh swivel in there, so there's that. And then you have range going forward, which is almost horizontal, and going back, yeah, the skirt wants to push it forward, so not as far back. Now here's the issue. This is a fairly severe issue. The legs don't appear to be connected to each other anymore, or they're just too loose for it to matter. The legs going forward and back are quite loose. Not perfectly floppy, there is some resistance, but for a figure that's this big, it's too loose. He likes to lean around, so you're gonna have to be very careful when you're posing him if yours happens to be as loose as mine. That is definitely a bummer. It's quite loose there. For the knees, we have a double joint, so this is your standard pinned joint right here, so that gives you decent range. And then up here we have an inset joint that pegs in, so you get your rotation there, or an insert joint, and then another hinge. So technically, you have all the knee bend you need, almost 180, and that's pretty cool. And again, you have that rotation if you want it. And then for the ankles, you have a double ball peg, which gives you better range than most Predators in some directions. But again, for a figure this big, they're not as tight. These aren't loose. The ankles aren't loose, but they're not as tight as I would prefer. So I might pop those off and maybe put a little piece of paper in there just to give them a little bit of extra resistance. That can work sometimes, and it's not going to hurt anything. But ultimately, he has good range for a Predator especially one with all this junk on him. It's really good. If it wasn't for the loose hips and could be tighter ankles, he'd be just about perfect. So yeah, again, it's a $30 figure with all this going on. So for me, those are problems, but I also understand that it's not going to be perfect at $30. There's just no, like, I don't know if you guys are getting it. Like, people always excuse Marvel Legends, for example, for being $20. So what do you expect? Well, this isn't that much more than a Marvel Legends figure, but look at it. Look at all that you're getting. If you can excuse things on those figures, you can sure as hell excuse them on this figure. So for me, the articulation does have issues. If I was not counting price point and everything else, I'd say the articulation, because of those issues, would only get like a 7. But because of the goodness of all the other articulation and everything else considered, I'm going to give it an 8. I know that's not that big of a difference, but still, this thing is super impressive, guys. There's I guess maybe even Predator fans are just like, this thing is that much better, and that's why they're so psyched about it. I don't know, but this isn't, I mean, it's great, but all of NECA's things are great of this variety. So if you like this, maybe check out some of the other ones. Obviously this one's super duper cool, but check out some of the other ones too. They have made a lot of Predators, and they're all pretty awesome. So anyway, I'll stop rambling. There it is, guys. I'm going to give this guy a final verdict of 9.5. 9.5. It's not perfect. I cannot give it a perfect rating with loose joints, no matter what the price point is. But it's damn close to perfect for the price point. This thing is incredible. So there you go. That's the new Alpha Predator coming soon. We'll have a Beta Predator. He comes with a soy latte and a selfie of him opening his mouth really wide for no reason. And if you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, please do, because I have new videos out almost every single day. They're all set up to help you collect more wisely, spend your money more wisely, and enjoy your collection a little bit more. So come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.